Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Joining us today is the chairman of the Taiwan Futures Exchange, Chairman Dr. Rong-I. Dr. Rong-I, we've been talking about Taiwan's economic relations with China and with other countries as well. But some of the local media have been very concerned about Taiwan's competitiveness vis-a-vis other countries. And there are two different views about that. One is more optimistic, and the other one is more very pessimistic about Taiwan's competitiveness. How do you see Taiwan's current economic situation now?
Okay, that depends on what kinds of indicator you choose.
Okay.
You know, we can use many economic indicators, many economic measures to see the competitiveness. You want to choose one or three, or some, you know, which of course Taiwan is not all good, or some that bad, or some less competitive. If you use these several kinds of indicators, of course Taiwan economy is not so strong. That's true. The second is, as everybody understands that since the former President Lee, 1996, we started a popular, the election of the president, and China started to use its military, strengthen the military threat to Taiwan. But because of, especially I think in 1986, NT dollar, that's been the Plaza Accord in 1986. The U.S. Exchange rate, Taiwan vis-a-vis U.S. Have very much appreciated from 40 NT in 3 years to only 26 NT. That's more than 60%. This means the Taiwan NT dollar appreciates so much. Many Taiwanese businessmen or Taiwanese product cannot compete in international market, especially in the United States, because NT dollar appreciate so much. So many of them start to move out to ASEAN first, at 86. At that time, we still very strict control trade with China. So first they moved to ASEAN, and then after that, we start to relax our, the regulation restriction of the trade with China. So they gradually moved to China. And after 90, I think 90, the President Lee start to presidency, and then start to Taiwanese democratization. But our investment in China at that time start to increase. That's why the President Lee mentioned about the be patient. His policy toward China is have some restriction. And this is, I think, this is very important that our relation with China at that time still not so much. But I think until year 2000, the DPP, they have the government and start to change the policy, the cross-strait policy, and start to open more, and because of this change of policy, so many those who lose competitive international market,
they went to China.
Went to China.
Okay.
And as I just mentioned, it's the amount of capital or people move to China increasing, and that is also lose Taiwanese, the investment, and also lose our job, and government should spend more money to prepare for those who are unemployed or laid off by those who left Taiwan to China. That is one. And the second, I think, because of the conflict between Taiwan and China, we have many policies we cannot follow as a formal or free economy. We should always think about China, and even we should take some special measure, in order to prohibit our relation with China. And I think that also hurt Taiwan economy, at least, and of course now political, as everybody know, Taiwan is, the pen blue, pen green, the white, the other, they have, especially for me, I think is during last 7 years of the TPP government, because the opposition still dominate the parliament, so the main budget, for example, is most significant case is in year 2001, when the worldwide recession comes. Government should take, the measure to increase our investment or expense in order to create a job opportunity. But the opposition, they blockade the budget. They do not want to pass the budget, postpone the budget until 2 years or 3 years. And now you understand also they do not want to pass a budget. The government can do, especially when the economic downturn, they can increase expense and then in order to increase consumption, increase the government expenditure. But because of this, political conflict, that many the budget cannot pass. That also hurt the economic adjustment. So all these put together, of course, it is a negative impact to the economy. So now, if we look back 7 years of the Taiwan economy, we can still maintain average 4% of GDP growth. Now, our unemployment rate still can maintain less than 4%. I think it's excellent.
But there have been criticisms about the government's policies towards China. And apparently, there are two different arguments. One is that we should have more open-up policy towards China, but there's another school of thought suggesting that we should be more cautious about the exchanges between the two sides. What's your take on that?
I think that depends how you see China as a friend or as an enemy. If you see China as a friend, of course, just like any other country, and you don't need to do anything special to China, okay, that's one more optimistic. But other, if you see China as an enemy, I just mentioned that the military threat and international, the community, the subject Taiwan. And of course, you should be very careful. How can you invest money in enemy, hostile country? How can you depend so much on your hostile country? That's very dangerous. We prefer, our independent. We prefer sacrifice a little bit our economic, the gain, and in order to maintain our own national security. I think this is a very basic, the right for us to maintain our independence, in order to protect our national security. So we should be careful of the Chinese, the hostility.
Yeah, but there are concerns about, how Taiwan meet with the challenges of the rise of China. Some people say that the only way that we can deal with the rising China is to engage China. But others suggest that we should keep some distance from this rising China, which could be causing troubles for countries in the region. How do you see that?
Okay, one thing is very important I should here emphasize is Chinese, the current transformation is now in the transition trap. That's mean on the one hand, economically they want to pursue the market, the free economy. But on the other hand, they don't want to lose the power. They still maintain dictator. So just like a two wheel of the bicycle, one wheel you go very fast economically, and the other is very slow. How can we maintain the stable the society? And this now we can see in China. You can see many conflict among the society, and that's dangerous. So if something happens, just like I just mentioned now, the 1.2 trillion foreign reserve maybe to hit the economy, maybe bubble, or if the stock market have been in dangers, then the Chinese society may be collapse. And that is so-called the transition trap, and as well as the currency trap. And it's not easy to go out of this trap. And we should be very careful. We cannot depend too much on China. If China really happen like former Soviet Union is collapsed, then how Taiwan can protect or or be protects to this the hurt of the Chinese problem.
But at the same time, Taiwan seems to be also at this transitional stage. Political, we are consolidating our democracy. Economically, we had to upgrade our economic structure. How do you see the current government's efforts in upgrading Taiwan's economy?
I have full confidence of Taiwanese businessmen. They are very, very smart. You see now in Taiwan, for example, the market share, the world market share #1, we have, depend on how you count, but maybe now more than 10 items. In the past, we have sometimes 20 or now about 10, when there are many more, #2 in the market share. So Taiwan now is quite, I think, quite advanced in Taiwan, high-tech economy. Also, we have, of course, want to develop our service sector in financial, sector. We have now also have quite good performance, even though we are not satisfied with our current, situation. But I think we have already quite a good manufacturing, and because of the wage increase, we cannot produce our low wage, the product. So we need to advance our product, and we actually, like a semiconductor, or many other high-tech industry, we have quite a good performance, and that is so-called value-added high-tech industry. So I think we have competence, and we will continue to do so. And on the other hand, the service sector now account for more than 70%. We need to improve. And from that case, we need to have, for example, to provide good, the skill or the better training, or better education, and that, of course, need more the government investment. But I think the direction is very clear. So for me, of course, the worldwide competition is very high, but we go, that's okay. And I think it's not as bad as some, so local media criticism. But of course, we should do more.
Speaking of high techs, there are also arguments that Taiwan should lift some of the restrictions on some of the exports of technologies to China. Do you think that is a good strategy?
We have only maintained about three items, like the TFT, LCD, the higher end. And also some foundry, maybe 12 inches of foundry, and some petrochemical. Like the 2, 3, or 4 items is not much. So I don't think we really restrict, our high tech. Only 3 or 4 items. I think is quite reasonable.
Dr. Wu, you have been a scholar of economics, and also you have the chance of working in the government as the vice premier. So looking back, for the past 7 years, how do you see the achievements of the DPP's government in terms of economic performance?
I think DPP government, the first time, the first time win the government, of course, they not experience, and they work hard, and the second is, as I just mentioned, because of they do not have dominant in the parliament, so many, and of course the opposition always try to find hard time to the government, so it's not easy to deal with these kinds of the political situation. So based on these the two considerations, I think as I just mentioned, average 4 to 5% of GDP growth, and unemployment rate maintained under 4%. And export can still maintain, like current, very fast, the performance. I think for me, I should say it's quite satisfactory.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Dr. Rong-I, thank you very much for coming to our program. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Taiwan Outlook, and see you next week.